Anyway, joining us now with reaction, we have the Senate Majority Leader John Thune is with us. Majority Leader Thune, welcome back. Appreciate it. #1 state sponsor of terror. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands through their proxies and themselves, missiles fired into Israel. How many missiles would it take for Americans to get up in arms if they were fired into American towns and cities? I don't think the number would be high. Probably one would do it.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't take many, Sean, and that's what Israel's facing on a daily basis, and that's what the rest of the world will be facing if Iran continues its reign of terror. I mean, they have menaced that region and the world now for 50 years, and it's high time that that stop. And I think President Trump is in a position, whether by diplomacy or supporting Israel and what they're doing, whether it comes forcefully or voluntarily, Iran needs to end its nuclear program. It's as simple as that. That's got to be the end state.
Let me go to this one big beautiful bill. There are differences in the House and Senate version. For example, President Trump said no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The Senate version creates new deductions for taxes on tips and overtime pay and car loan interest, but does not make them fully deductible. Tips are up to $25,000 through 2028. Overtime up to $12,500 through 2028, or $25,000 for joint filers. I would imagine there's going to be, in conference, some tension over that. Your thoughts?
Well, look, I think, Sean, on all those are the president's priorities. They were incorporated in the House bill. We incorporated them in the Senate bill. We've got draft text out there. Obviously, we think that there's some income, putting some income limitations on those things doesn't affect the amount that most people are going to benefit from. I mean, if you're making $1 million in tips, then yeah, maybe. But I think for the most part, this is designed to help working Americans, people who are getting up every day, going to work, and this gives them some relief. And I think that's what the president was focused on, is delivering relief for working class families. That's why we lock in the rates, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act rates. We make permanent the expanded child tax credit and the increased standard deduction, and then you add those 4 things that the president campaigned on. So this will be a good, strong bill for middle-income Americans when it comes to tax relief. And then, of course, there are all kinds of other things, as you know, in it that we think it needs to be passed. We believe that the president and the House and the Senate are all going to be on the same page when it's all said and done, and we'll get a bill that we can put on his desk that he'll be happy with and that the American people will benefit from, make us both stronger and more prosperous.
Let's talk about Medicaid, and the Democrats are trying to demagogue it. You'd cap provider taxes at 3.5% by 2031, down from the current 6%. There's an increase in spending, but you are removing fraud as part of the process. There are restrictions if you're able-bodied, et cetera. Little variation from the House version. Where do you see that ultimately landing in conference there?
We want to make sure that we are rooting out the Biden-era waste, fraud, and abuse in the Medicaid program and making sure that it's targeted and directed, Sean, at the people for whom it was intended. And if you're an illegal immigrant, or you're somebody who's ineligible for the program, or you're an able-bodied adult who should be working to benefit from it, those are reforms that root out waste, fraud, and abuse. And the provider tax is something that's been gamed by a lot of states through the years. And so, yeah, we tighten some things up. We make the program more workable, strengthened, and improved, and targeted to the people who really need it. And it was designed to help out, pregnant moms and disabled and elderly Americans. That's what Medicaid is there for. It's gotten way out of context. And by the way, it does increase at a slower rate. I mean, everybody's talking, the Democrats are out there clamoring, screaming about cutting Medicaid. It doesn't cut Medicaid. It slows the rate of growth. And we've got to slow the rate of growth, or that program is going to be unsustainable, just like a lot of other federal programs that have been growing out of control.
Slow the rate of growth means that's important because you're growing the programs. You're not cutting anything, and you are putting in work requirements for able-bodied people, but you're still increasing spending, but you're making it more manageable so it doesn't head towards insolvency. I think that's an important distinction. Let me ask you about 2 last things. The SALT deduction, state and local tax deductions. It was a big deal for blue state Republicans up for re-election, obviously, in 26. It was the House version goes to 40,000. The Senate version goes to 10,000. I imagine there'll be some negotiation there. And you were very clear this week that you plan to keep the Senate open through the 4th of July recess. I assume the 4th of July also, if necessary, to get this thing across the finish line. Is that still the plan?
It is, and the SALT is something that we will negotiate. We realize we got to pass a bill through the House. Now you now live in a low tax state, Sean, so you might probably share the view that I do, that we shouldn't have low tax states subsidizing high tax states on the east and west coast. So that's kind of where the Senate is, but we know we got to get 218 in the House. So we're we're going to be negotiating this with our House colleagues, and obviously the White House, the President and his team will be involved with that, and we'll get there. But these are all, it's a work in progress, and we have a lot of people with ideas that are coming at us, but the text is out there. We're going to be working over the course of the next week to get it through all the bird bath tests that we have to go through in the Senate, and have a bill on the floor that we can start voting on sometime next week.
Majority Leader Thune, we appreciate you being with us. Thank you.